emotional abuse. But today, before I get started, I had a young lady, she emailed me and asked, why do I always talk about men and abuse when there are so many women out here still being abused by men? And I had a talk with the young lady, and I had to let her know that women, we have so many organizations, we have so many resources that we can go to for help. Now, there's a twist to that story because I didn't bring my notes, but it's a twist to that story. We have so many women out there now who's destroying the lives of men by not being truthful with their stories. And I'm going to share the same story that I shared with the young lady when I addressed an issue with one of my clients. This young man, he was married for 7 years, and during the first 5 of those 7 years, his wife was very abusive, but he never got help because he was afraid to go and get help. And what got him, and this is a story that I shared with the young lady to let her know that men do experience the same types of abuse. The story is that this young man, he was, again, being abused by his wife. And at the very end, what he did, he finally made the decision to leave, because that's the main question that a lot of people ask. Why didn't you just leave? And a lot of times it's not that easy to just get up and walk away. But when this young man just finally decided to leave, he got his baby. The baby was 3 years old. He got her, and he was leaving to get him and the baby out to, safety. And the wife, what she did, she grabbed a knife and she threw it at her husband while he was leaving out the door, and he was holding their 3-year-old daughter. He blocked the knife with his arm, and he ended up getting cut on his arm with the knife. He went to the police station, and this is the sad part. He went to the police station to report what happened, and the police took the baby from him and tried to lock him up because they didn't want to believe his story. Now, what happened, he got cut with the knife. He blocked it, and if he didn't block that knife would have hit that baby. But what he did, he continued with his story. He stayed consistent with his story. And they went and did the investigation. The wife, of course, lied and said that the husband had been abusing her, when the truth was she had been abusing him. But because there was no record of the abuse, the system in turn believed her story. But the husband, this young man, was not going to give up because he wanted to do everything he could to protect himself and his daughter as well. So he stayed consistent with his story, and he did everything he knew how to do. Of course, they wasn't believing him, but he did not give up. And what finally happened was that he won his case. They found the wife guilty, and she ended up spending time in prison. He filed for a divorce, and they gave him full custody of his daughter. So again, these stories are true. And for the young lady that I did speak with her, she sent me the email, and I did speak with her. And again, she wanted to know why I was addressing more issues when it came to men being abused. But again, I had to let her know that we have so many resources out here that will help us, but men don't have enough. And that's why I talk so much about men being abused, because regardless if he's an adult or he's a child, he is still someone's son, and he has every right to be protected. And I'm taking every measure, and I try to get a lot of support from men so that we can get a law passed to protect men, because I have nephews, I have uncles, I have great nephews. These young men, they need to be protected, because if we don't do anything about this abuse, domestic violence, bullying, if we don't continue to speak up and do what we need to do, it's never going to end. Again, I wrote my book, and I've gotten a lot of support. I've gotten a lot of support with the book, but I am trying to get a lot more support from men. I do work with male clients, but some of them still don't want to come out and be a voice. They're just seeking help, and I'm there to support them, but they don't want to take that extra step. But I'm not going to give up, because I do believe our men need to be protected. Our husbands need to be protected. Our sons need to be protected. Again, we need to just step up and be. Again, in one of my podcasts, I address all women as virtuous women, because we are supposed to be nurturers. We are nurturers by nature, and God called us to be helpmeets for men. If God did not need us to be the helpmeet for the man, these men would be out here doing whatever they supposed to do without us. But God created both man and woman, and we are supposed to be protective of one another. Again, in my book, I shared a lot about my situation. I, for the most part of my life, I was depressed, angry, and mad. But I wasn't mad at those men. I was mad at myself, because I held on to those things. And I had to get to a point where I had to let those things go, because those situations were actually destroying my life. Now, if we experience anything, not just men, but women also, if you've experienced any type of abuse, it is not up to you to take your abusive situation and go out there and hurt others. You seek help, you get the help that you need, and then you will make yourself available to be used by God, because God has a purpose for your life, and I don't believe God put you here on earth to be abusive to anyone. Again, I always talk about how abuse can start, and it starts in childhood. And I just recently, in an environment where there was a baby, 3 years old, being bullied, not by adults, but by other children, a 3-year-old. And that's where the abuse starts. And sometimes children don't understand the effects of what they are doing to the little ones. We have the 3-year-old, and the ones that's bullying him is 11, 12, and 13. And these young men do not understand the effects that this 3-year-old, the bullying, is going to have on the 3-year-old's life. And they just call this baby out of his name, and it's just, and the parents, I heard it, the parents just sat there and just let it happen. And that's where it starts. And then sometimes we want to wonder why children grow up to be so rebellious. If bullying starts at a young age and abuse starts at a young age, children don't know how to accept it. And when they become adults, that's when they become rebellious. And that's when they go out there and be destructive. But then the parent would say, I tried to raise my child the best way I can. Not when you are sitting around letting other children bully your baby and you're not doing anything about it. Or you yourself is abusing, mentally and emotionally abusing your own child. That's not raising your child the best way you can. Or you just don't pay attention to your child. We understand that you have to work or do whatever you have to do to take care of your children, but it doesn't take a lot of time to sit and talk with your children so that you can get an understanding of where they are mentally and emotionally, because our emotions are the best of who we are. I always talk about emotions also because our emotions can control us if we're not careful. As we see a lot of things going on around the nation, angry people, or what we say, hurt people. So we see a lot of destructive situations and circumstances going on in our nation today. And that only comes from hurt people. It doesn't matter who you are, whatever happened in your life, again, that does not give you a right to go out and hurt others because you've been hurt. There are a lot of resources. You just have to go out. We have Google, we have Facebook. There are a lot of resources, social media. You can pick up the phone and call. You don't have to give none of your personal information. Just seek help. Seek help. It's there because not only are you continuing to destroy your life, you're also destroying other people's lives, innocent lives. I see it every day. I used to work for public transportation, and it's just so heartbreaking the things that I've seen going on, not just with adults, but with children. We had runaways. We had the youngest homeless person that I knew while I was out there working for public transportation. The youngest homeless person was 17 years old. 17. Now, some people may say, well, he was old enough to go out there and get his own, do what he needed to do. He didn't have to be homeless. But if you have a child or an adult or an individual with special needs and their needs are not being met or weren't being met, they don't know how to go out there and take care of themselves. I am a member for a nonprofit organization, and they are adults with autism and special needs. I don't use the word disability. I've used the term people with differences because people are able to do things the same, different. So I don't use the term disability. Now, the 17-year-old, because his mom didn't take the time to understand her child's difference, she assumed that he was what we call normal. But I always ask the question in regards to normal. What is normal? How do you define normal? How do you define a normal person when you have your quote unquote normal people going out there committing crimes? You have people just out there doing ungodly acts, but these are your normal people, because a lot of times what we hear other people say, well, I didn't expect him to do something like that. I don't understand why he would do that. He was such a nice person. But inside, didn't nobody know what that person was dealing with internally. But he carried himself, or she carried herself, as a normal individual. And I can attest to that because when I was in my situations years ago, I too carried myself like I was quote unquote, I was normal, but I was still broken on the inside. But I didn't go out there and hurt people because I was hurt. I didn't go out there and hurt people. I just went out there and lived my life the best way I could. So when we address people as being normal, our quote unquote normal people are the ones that catch us off guard. out there hurting people and doing, committing crimes and all these ungodly acts. But this young man, 17 years old, homeless, because his mom didn't understand why he was different. And in regards to that, what I always say, children are a seed from the parents. So whatever your child is doing, that child is your seed. That child is a part of who you are. And if you have children and you're not taking care of your children the best way you can, or you've been abusive to your children, you're actually letting your child know how you really feel about yourself. Because again, if you are if you love yourself, you have respect, you're godly, you're Christian, or whatever you may want to call yourself. If you're happy, then all of that you're gonna share all of that with your child. And when your child receives everything that they need from you, sometimes they still may go out and be a part of the community or part of a wrong group of people, but still you cannot take any anger out on your child, because your child is a part of who you are. And anything that you display towards your child, that's letting that child know how you feel about yourself internally. Now, I always tell people I don't have children of my own, but I have a lot of, we call great nieces and great nephews, nieces and nephews. Then I have a lot of people, the young generation. Some of them call me auntie, or some of them call me mom, because I take the time out to listen, and not give my opinion, because sometimes they just need someone to listen to them. They don't look for opinions. They don't look for feedback. They just need someone that would just listen to them, and that will help them to get a better understanding of who they are and where they need to be. Because a lot of times what we do as adults, we give them our opinion based on what we think was best for us and not what's best for them. So that's why, again, a lot of times we just need to take the time out and just listen and get to understand them for who they are, because everybody has a purpose, and it is not up to us to share our opinion based on who we are and not who they are or what they are called to be. And another thing adults try to do, or they try not to do, is to let their child go out and everybody is born with a gift, everybody is born with a talent. And sometimes parents stop their child from going out there and doing what God has already called them to do. And it's just amazing how smart some of these children are. But you have parents, because they didn't live their best life, they didn't live their purpose, they didn't go out there and do what they were called to do. Now they are holding their child's future in their hands. They're not letting their child go out and do what they were called to do. I have a nephew. He loves to cook. He loves to cook. He wasn't your average 5-year-old. He was sitting in front of cooking shows, watching cooking shows at 5. Your average 5-year-old sits in front of the TV watching cartoons. And because his mom didn't bother him or ask him why was he watching cooking shows or what got him interested, she just let him do what he liked to do, and now he's a chef. He's executive chef. He loves to cook. He loves to cook. And his mother didn't stop him from doing what he was called to do. And now he's sharing what he learned. He's sharing with his children, letting his children know that whatever you are called to do, I'm going to be there to support you. So, parents, that's another thing that children need. They need the support. We may not understand what they're doing or why they want to do it, but as long as it's not harming them or others, they need all the support that they need. And that will stop some of the all of this other stuff that's going on, because if you take away a child's gift or stop them from living and doing what God called them to do, again, they're going to be rebellious. And sometimes they may grow up to hate you. They may grow up to hate you, and then you won't know where it came from. But it's good to be careful when it's time to understand your child for who they are. Again, we don't have a lot of parents that support their child because they don't understand where the gift may come from. You know, it might be something that it passes through generations. We have a generation of women in my family who are nurses, but then it can skip a generation. And you might have a daughter, my auntie might have a daughter who doesn't want to be a nurse, but because nursing has been in our family for so long, nursing skipped a generation. And this young lady, she wants to go out and be a mechanic. We don't have no female mechanics, but that is what she loves to do. And nobody stopped her from wanting to be a mechanic. I don't see too many female mechanics, but that's what she loved to do. And her mother didn't understand where that came from. She wants to be a mechanic. No females in this family is a mechanic, but she let her child go out and do what she was called to do. So parents, if it's very important to support your child regardless, because if you don't, they will become rebellious, they'll hate you, and then they will become destructive, or they may become destructive. There's no guarantee that they will, but if you don't support them, again, they may grow up to hate you. I pray that will never happen. But again, all of those things can be caused from the parents not living their best life. And that, again, can become a part of abuse, because it's a psychological thing. Because if you're not letting your child do what they want to do, the abuse sets in. It's mental, psychological, and emotional. So it's good to be able to just go out and let your child, support your child, and let your child go and do what they were called to do. As long as they're not being destructive and destroying anybody else's life, support your child. Support your child. But again, this is Lanatha of Encouraging Voices, and I thank God for, I just thank God for using my voice to encourage others to go out and be their best, not just for themselves, but be their best, because God needs each one of us to be the best that we can be. It's time for us to address the issues of abuse. It's time for us to protect our men, because we got to know that every man out here is someone's son. And if you have a son, pay attention to your son to make sure your son is not in an abusive situation. Protect him. Do everything you need to do to protect your child, because that man is someone's son. So abuse, it's time for us to address abuse. Ladies, if you have been abused, seek help. Seek help, and don't take it upon yourself to take your situations and let it control you, and you go out and you hurt someone else, because you're going to do nothing but destroy your life. Destroy your life and destroy the lives of others, because a lot of times when you're being abusive, you're not only abusing that person, it has an effect on that individual's entire family. Because if this young man is being abused, if you're abusing him, it affects his whole family. And a lot of times, if you're doing it, you don't pay attention, you don't really think about the effects of what you're doing and how it's destroying not only that young man, but the lives of those who are connected to him. That's just like the what we call it, the murder suicide. Those murder suicide rates. Those murder suicide rates. From the last time I checked, it went up. And yes, the victims are women. So it's time for us to address those issues. Virtuous woman, all women were created by God, and you are a virtuous woman. It is time for us to go out and protect our men, protect our children. Men, if you are the abuser, seek help. Protect your loved ones. If you're hurting, it is not your job to go out and hurt others. We are all in this together. We need to seek each other. Reach out to someone. There are resources. Reach out to someone, get help, and protect each other. Protect your family, protect your personal environment, because that's where it starts. I just want to thank you right now for joining me at KAZRadiotv.com. This is Lanatha of Encouraging Voices, and I pray and I thank you all, and I pray that God will just use you. I just pray that he will just intervene and just meet you right where you are in your heart, so that you can go out and encourage someone else. Thank you for tuning in to KAZ Radio TV. Have a blessed day.